This week on Nevada Week, how close is Las Vegas's return to pre-COVID convention and trade show business?
Support for Nevada Week is provided by Senator William H. Hernstedt.
Welcome to Nevada Week. I'm Amber Renee Dixon. We'll discuss the state of Southern Nevada's all-important convention and trade show industry ahead. But first, an interview with U.S. Senator Jackie Rosen, whose Omnibus Travel and Tourism Act created the first ever federal position fully dedicated to coordinating tourism strategy across the federal government. The position that the Omnibus Travel and Tourism Act creates, first off, I was surprised to learn that it didn't already exist. Were you surprised?
Really surprised. And you know, when the global pandemic hit and we realized how every impact of our society, every part of our society was impacted, and of course here in Nevada, we know that tourism is the top of economic driver for us. Las Vegas Strip shut down and all the subsequent businesses, our conventions shut down. What an impact it had on us. And we had no one who was overseeing a national strategy. Now we hope we don't have a global pandemic again, but we still have to think about what does that mean? Transportation, workforce, immigration, visas, international travel. There's so many other things. Of course, even moving goods around. You want to go to a fabulous restaurant wherever you go on vacation? Well, that food has to come from somewhere. It has to get here. And you have to think about what that means. And so this person, this new person, whoever it will be, will work with the president, the administration, to try to gather some good names to give to him to nominate. They'll set the foundation for this role. And we're hoping that they create a short-term strategy and then a long-term strategy as we begin to build out broadband, really important for tourism, right? The Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, investing heavily in broadband. I was part of that committee that helped write it. The 22 and airports and broadband were my piece. So it is really important that we have good broadband, especially in our rural areas. You want to go to, we're here in Las Vegas, but you want to go to see some of the darkest skies in Nevada, ride that SkyTrain. You want to be able to book that or book your travel anywhere. You need internet.
So is it accurate to say that this position was created out of COVID?
Well, I think we realized the need for one person to kind of coordinate all pieces and parts. And so I think that COVID really just highlighted the need that it should come from not many departments in many areas, but have one person to kind of oversee and coordinate with all of that. So the coordination, I think, is what came out of COVID, yes.
And how does this act help Las Vegas, which already has the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, arguably one of the more powerful public agencies promoting tourism in the country?
So let's talk about international tourism. We know that that lagged. Of course, I helped work with the president to be sure that we got that COVID, the restriction of international travel, the COVID vaccination coming through. That was instrumental for our international travelers to come back, bringing them not just for regular vacations, but that helps our convention business as you speak about the Las Vegas Convention Authority. And so international travel, visa wait times, that's another huge issue for people to come in. So I think that'll be one thing that really helps Las Vegas, international travel, visa wait times. Another thing that will help, speaking of international travel, is we have a one-stop security pilot program. And so what does that mean? It means if you come in from, I'll say a major airport like in London or Paris, it's a trusted airport, you want to come here, you have to change planes, your bags will already come straight through to your destination. That's going to create a better customer experience for people. And of course, your travel begins the minute you leave the door. So whether it's how you get to your airport or your train or your bus, however you go, how your bags get there, how you get there, all of that matters. So that's one thing we'll be focusing on right away.
In the case of what just happened with Southwest Airlines, their turmoil during the holidays and after, would this act have addressed that?
You know, I had another bill that was signed into law called the Tourism Act, and that calls on the Department of Transportation, and now it's Secretary Buttigieg, to report to us about their strategy in the transportation sector as it relates to tourism. I know that Secretary Buttigieg is going to be looking into this. Of course, I'm on the Commerce Committee. I'm the chair of the subcommittee for tourism. I'll be working with Chairwoman Cantwell, trying to determine what we have to look at for the transparency of this going forward. So again, this doesn't happen again. What happened was, I guess, the perfect storm, because it happened all across the country. It wasn't a regional outbreak, it wasn't a regional disaster, and some airlines weren't prepared, and they have to be responsible.
The LVCVA and the Nevada Resort Association both supported this act, but both have mentioned when talking about Nevada's recovery from the pandemic that business travel is still an area that is lagging. How would this legislation help in that area?
Well, I think you have to look at business sectors. So that a lot of that, of course, is the conventions that come in. We're one of the top convention destinations, I don't have to tell you. I would argue that businesses, it's great to do things on Zoom and conference call and all of that, but there's nothing like being together in person to exchange ideas, to create and collaborate and create new partnerships. So I think that we're going to have to look with the Department of Transportation and, of course, this new Assistant Secretary in Commerce to see how we can make sure that business travel stays robust. It's important, not just to Las Vegas, but I will tell you that the top 5 economic drivers of probably every state in this country, one of them is tourism.
And what work remains to improve travel and tourism that perhaps you'll be pursuing this legislative session?
We're going to investigate and look a little bit about what we can do about the airline situation. Of course, as we saw over the holidays, a lot of those cancellations and bags and travel distress. And I really want to be sure that as we build out the bipartisan infrastructure Jobs Act that we had that invested all that money in infrastructure, that what we're building is smart and it's connected, and that we have that good broadband base, that our airports are expanding and that they're safer, that our freeways, whatever they are, have that, we'll say broadband again, that Wi-Fi that connects for accident reporting, for travel times, all of those things. So I hope that as we continue to build out our infrastructure, we're smarter and more connected, and that's going to make not just tourism better, but it's going to make our everyday lives better.
Let's narrow in now on Las Vegas convention and trade show tourism. 2 large shows wrapped up this month, with World of Concrete expecting 60,000 attendees this year. That's 20,000 more than last year. And at CES, organizers reported more than 115,000 attendees, exceeding expectations. So what does this indicate about the industry's recovery from COVID? For that, we welcome Howard Stutz, gaming reporter for the Nevada Independent. Howard, welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
First off, we have a lot of people that are new to Nevada and new to Las Vegas. Can you summarize just how important this trade show and convention industry is here?
Well, it's a great question because it's grown over the years, the entire convention business. Nevada, years ago, 2019, we had 6.6 million convention attendees as part of our visitation, the visitor totals that come out. Right now, 2020, it was 0 because of all the conventions got canceled. 2021 was starting to build back up. Right now through November, because we're looking at the numbers for 2022, we'll get December numbers at the end of this month. It's about 4.2 million convention attendees. So we're getting back. And a lot of the gaming companies were very forward thinking in their comments during the earnings calls last year, saying we've seen a lot of forward bookings coming up for 2023. It's going to be a good year. And CES and World of Concrete have proved that already. CES, I think last year was about 60,000. It was the first. It didn't happen in 2020, or it did. It was right at the beginning of the pandemic, and it started to. There was a lot of some people canceled. It was a little slow. Obviously, it didn't happen in 2020. 2021 was only 60,000 people. So this year, it's a 2022 60,000 people. This year, really
115,000.
Yeah, so it's a really good sign. And World of Concrete been packed down there, and they brought back all the the bricklaying competition. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of positive sights looking forward right now.
And you talked about the earnings calls in which CEOs from the Strip will be on those calls. And it's not just fluff. It's not that they're putting that out there as an optimistic point of view, because you have to book conventions quite far out, correct?
You book them some years in advance. We have some that are booked out that it's like a 3-year. They don't happen for 3 years, and they're already booked for 3 years from now. One of the signs that we saw last year, the Global Gaming Expo is the largest convention for the gaming industry. Happens every October in Las Vegas at the Venetian complex. 2020 it obviously went virtual. In 2021 they had a scaled down version, maybe about, I think they had attendance about 13,000. We actually did a Nevada Week taping there, and it was an empty floor. I mean, practically, I told the host, it was like, at this, in normal times, this would be packed with 3-4 booths. So this past one in October almost met the record in terms of attendance. They had about 25,000 attendees. Not the same scale as CES and World of Concrete, but that was we had a large number, and we had international travelers back too for it. So it was a really good sign moving forward into this year.
Okay, Steve Hill, president of the LVCVA, says he thinks there's a pretty good possibility this year there could be those 6.6 million attendees here for conventions and trade shows that happened in 2019. You think this will be the year we're back to normal, or still getting?
I hate doing that kind of prediction, because you never know. Something weird could happen. Like international travel is the biggest, along with conventions. It was one of the 2 big keys we needed for Las Vegas on the comeback. Following the pandemic, international travel is still slowly coming back. We don't have any direct flights from Asia. I don't think, we had South Korean Air flying in here, Korean Air flying in. We don't have those yet. We have a lot from Europe and other markets. There has been some talk that I think the U.S. was going to halt, ask for quarantines or tests from China because they had an uptick in COVID. So that's going to be the big key before we really can say, yeah, we're back to normal. And things are moving forward. I think that'll be one of the big keys to look forward to.
International travel is such a big part of the population that comes for these conventions and the trade shows. But it's interesting you mentioned that talk about the U.S. possibly imposing quarantines, because China is now getting rid of their quarantine requirements.
That came up earlier, I think, toward the end of last year, and so hopefully it won't happen, or it'll just go away real quick. But the international travel, let's remember, the airport is going to set a record this year for terms of passengers. The record was 51.5 million back in 2019. We're already at we're close. We're up at 48.3 million passengers through November. If December holds, so we don't know, with the Southwest meltdown and everything, but if December holds to the average, we'll break that record. And that's with international air passenger volume still below the record of 3.8 million. We're about 2.3 million through November.
Wow. Okay. So you talk about convention and trade show tourism. It's different than visitor volume, though. Those are 2 different numbers. And how do the 2 compare as we talk about recovery from COVID?
Well, you add in convention business is added into that visitor volume, but the total visitor volume where we're at right now is we're still behind. I mean, we're through November was 35.5 million. The record is we're down 9% compared to 2019. That's where we have to come back. It was the record visitor volume ever was 42.9 million. So we're still behind it. That's really where it's going to come back, and a lot of what's going on this year will probably help it.
Talk about some of what is going on this year that will help it.
Well, of course, we have Allegiant Stadium has brought in a lot of folks. Not just for the Raiders games, Wish it could be for maybe 1 or 2 UNLV games, but not for UNLV, but for all the college, the other events they've had there. The college, we've got the Shrine, the East-West Shrine game coming up. They have the Notre Dame BYU game last year, so they play these non-conference college games there. The Las Vegas Bowl.
Concerts as well?
Concerts have been, incredibly. It's been done really well, and we've got more on the books for this year. Allegiant has helped boost that tourism number, help bring more people in. But it's just going to be, the other events are going on. We got, of course, Formula One we've talked about. I'm sure we're going to talk about that, ad nauseum this year, but that's going to be a very highly attended event. It's already, the room rates, we talked about it once before, are going up because of Formula One. And in 2024, we have the Super Bowl, and we'll always remember Vegas, as you well know, we do very well with this when the Super Bowl's somewhere, because before people want to come here if they can't go to the Super Bowl itself. You have March Madness, so you have those sporting events these big weekends that draw visitors here, even if they're not even in this market. And remember, the West Regional is going to be at T-Mobile Arena in March, beginning of April. I'm not sure the date. So that's the first time we'll have that event here. So that'll add people.
It all sounds really good, but then we hear talk about a potential recession. What have you heard? Have you heard anything on the earnings calls about concerns?
They've been very positive on these earning calls. Years ago there was a recession before the big Great Recession in the late 2000s. The recession, Vegas seemed recession-proof. We learned we're not recession-proof when it hit in the late 2000s. Nobody knows what the extent of a recession would be, what it might look like. People have been, even after COVID, when people were cutting back, they were still traveling, and we saw travel boost up in the last all through 2022. That's why our numbers are still, pretty good. You still get, they're getting good room rates on the Strip. They've set records for the amount of prices they were getting on the Strip in terms of rooms in October. So we don't know if the convention's gonna slow things or not. It's just, a recession will slow things or not. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so you've talked about how events have risen room rates in your reporting and brought in visitor volume as well. Has the landscape of Las Vegas changed in terms of gaming revenue versus non-gaming revenue?
Just remember, Nevada, for years, old guys like me remember this, Nevada and Atlantic City were the only places in the country you could find a casino. Today, there's like 37 or so states with commercial casinos. Another 20 states have tribal casinos. Sports betting has expanded throughout the U.S. You can go anywhere you want, almost in the country, and go to a casino or bet on sports or something. So that's what's changed. Over that time in Las Vegas on the Strip, gaming revenue wasn't the driver for the big revenue driver for the Strip. It was the non-gaming stuff, the hotels, the restaurants, the shopping, the entertainment. Allegiant Stadium's added that because of the entertainment. So it used to be, it was around time, it was about 65-35%. Now the numbers are pretty skewed right now. It's in on fiscal year. It just coming out today as we're on the show here. For fiscal 22, which ended July of last year, you're looking at 30% of the gaming, 30% of the revenues on the Strip were from gaming, and another 70, almost 70% were from non-gaming.
Wow.
So we saw that come back even higher. In the time when Vegas had, the Strip had like the $7.1 billion revenue year in all of 2021. 2022, we still have November numbers. The Strip gaming revenue is $7.5 billion. It's already a record, and we're still waiting for December to be counted. So they're big numbers. I'm not a math guy. I get confused on them, but you can see right there that people have disposable income. They're coming to Vegas and they're spending it. In
gaming, traditionally, and in
non-gaming is big, and we've got a big non-gaming event happening, project that's supposed to launch later this year.
What are we talking about?
The Spear, the
The
MSG
MSG
Spear.
Spear. Yep, for more entertainment. Howard Stutz, the Nevada Independent, thank you so much for your time.
Anytime.
And a bit more on CES. According to the Consumer Technology Association, this year's show, with its more than 115,000 attendees, marked the largest audited global tech event since early 2020. Nevada Week's Maria Silva was one of the nearly 5,000 media members who got to check out some of the cool tech and gadgets.
We are going to be seeing a lot of this here at CES 2023. The wow factor, right? Robots everywhere, some really cool things happening. And I'm so happy to say that I've been reunited, and it feels so good with the talented Ted Murphy with Idea.
So happy to be here.
We were here, 11 years ago? It's our 11-year reunion.
I know.
How things have changed here at CES.
It's all robots.
Let's talk a little bit about what we have behind us here.
Oh my gosh. It's a scale model of what a cargo ship of the future could be. And this isn't just a regular cargo ship, it's autonomous, it's driven by AI, it's electric.
You were so great with the thousands and thousands of items. We kind of scaled it down to some really cool. Some of them functional for the workplace. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but you chose a flying vehicle.
Of course, and it's not quite there yet, right? It's a prototype, but it's out there. That's the future, and it's probably going to be available to you and I in our lifetime, which is so cool.
Isn't that crazy? Like, we saw it growing up on the Jetsons, right?
Yeah.
Those flying cars, and we see it in movies, and then to think that it will actually become a reality in our lifetime. It's wild.
It's going to happen.
What other things do you have in store for us? What are we going to check out?
Oh my gosh, we are going to be wearing an exoskeleton. If you ever saw Aliens, you remember Sigourney Weaver and the giant exoskeleton. It's not quite that, but we're going to be wearing an exoskeleton.
German Bionic, and I feel like you're coming out of a Marvel movie.
I know,
it's
crazy.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, so what are we looking at right here?
This thing is the Cray X. It's really designed to help people who are doing repetitive tasks in things like warehouses, airports. If you have to bend down a lot and pick things up, this will help you lift up to 66 pounds.
And how does it function? How does it work? I mean, it's collecting data as you're doing this, right?
It's collecting data, it's sending it back, it's all anonymized, and I can adjust the amount of resistance here, the amount of help that it's providing me in getting back up.
So walk us through, how is this going to help a lot of the factory workers? You mentioned also the airports. Maybe one day we'll actually see it at Harry Reid International Airport. You never know, it's already being used at some places.
Yeah, it's being used at airports. It's being used at a lot of factories right now and warehouses. They even talked about eventually this coming to like a Home Depot where you could rent it.
Okay, here we go. All right, I got this. All right, now. Whoa! Like, this is so. It's like I can be here all day. Woo! This is great. And again, the fact that you are helping these workers is just pretty awesome. You know, like it's fun to wear and it looks really, cool. And again, I feel like I need to take off, but it's again the fact that it is going to make a huge difference in the workplace. There's so many great prototypes, a lot of them already launching, but this is the prototype.
This is a prototype, but this is a CES 2023 Innovation Award winner. This is a portable wind turbine, so this will generate about 200 watts of electricity. So this is a 5,000 watt hour battery supply. You can see all the plugs here, but what's so cool about this, check this out. Boom. Boom. And now we've got solar panels as well. This is amazing if you want to go camping, you want to get off the grid for a while, but with all the natural disasters that we've been having lately, it's a game changer.
An unforgettable hero is about to return.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Transformers, robots in disguise. Okay, I am geeking out. My inner child is coming out, you guys, because I grew up, like many of you guys, watching Transformers.
This is an amazing robot that actually transforms, watch this, with a voice command. Hey, Optimus Prime, transform. How amazing is this?
I'm geeking out. And again, this is not your typical Transformer toy. This is a robot.
Yes, this is a $1,000 robot that can be completely programmed. Kids can start as low as 4 years old with a simple app, and then they can connect it to their computer and get much more complicated with this thing.
This company is like groundbreaking, doing some really cool things.
They're blowing
with
up online.
Some of our
They are
characters that we love. Not only Optimus Prime and the gang, but who else?
Over there is Buzz Lightyear. That one's a prototype. They haven't fully released that one yet, but I think it's coming out pretty soon. And they've got actually other things in the works with Disney, so we'll see what happens there.
Because when I think of Disney, I think of Star Wars. So I'm envisioning quite a bit of things with that.
If they come out with a Darth Vader, I'm totally getting it. Hey, Optimus Prime, roll out.
Let's roll.
All right, Ted, so after all that walking, time to take a little break, right? And this is our new cool ride. Tell us about this.
This is what I'm talking about. Stretch out, lean back.
Relax.
So this is actually a concept for a taxi. Have you ever been in a taxi that's this comfortable?
So much leg room.
This is the Axie 2, and I mean, if this is what the future is going to be like,
Sign me up.
I am all for it.
All right, Ted, again, another CES in the books 2023. Thank you so much, my friend. High five, and let's go. We don't even need to drive. All right, bye, guys.
See
Until
ya.
next time. Where are we going? Strip?
We're going to the future.
CES 2024 will take place January 9th through the 12th. And for any of the resources discussed on this show, visit our website, vegaspbs.org/Nevada Week. Thank you for watching.